In this video, we continue with our narration of William Walker Atkinson's Practical Mental Influence and Mental Fascination. In the preceding video, Chapter 3, Mental Induction, we covered how thought vibrations set up induction in the minds of others, comparison between thought, magnetism, and electricity, and how mental states are transmitted. We concluded with, the principle is the same in all cases and instances, although the manner of operation varies according to the particular phase of the phenomena manifested. Remember this as we proceed, and you will be able to understand the subject much better. Now this is Chapter 4, Mental Concentration, involving what mental concentration is and how it works, the occult teachings regarding concentration, how to concentrate, how to develop the powers of concentration, a course of training described and explained. Excuse me. Before continuing, if you have not yet subscribed to this Tharanki Ramacharaka channel, I suggest that you go ahead and do that right now. Pause the video and get it done, and while you're at it, activate the notification bell feature. Also, you are welcome to comment, and if you do, please comment courteously. If by the end of this video you found that you liked it, please give it a thumb up. Share the joy of the channel with others, and now, once again, thank you for selecting this video, our narration of Chapter 4, Mental Concentration, of William Walker Atkinson's Practical Mental Influence and Mental Fascination. The first sentence of Chapter 4, Mental Concentration is, the two principal factors in the manifestation of mental influence in all of its forms are what is known as, number 1, concentration, and 2, mental imaging. Now proceeding. The first of these factors shall be considered in this chapter, the succeeding chapter taking up the consideration of the second factor. Concentration, now, is a word derived from two Latin words, con, a prefix meaning to, and centrum, meaning center, or fixed central point. The two words combined, con and centrum. In English now, concentration. The two words combined mean literally to bring to a common point, that is, to focus, etc. Thus, the word concentration is seen to mean literally the act or state of bringing to a fixed point or focus. Borrowing an analogous illustration from physical science, we readily see that the highest forms of energy, force, or power are manifested by bringing the force to a focus, a center, or a common point, thereby directing to that point the entire energy employed, instead of allowing it to become dissipated over a larger area. The electricity generated by a battery or a dynamo, if allowed to diffuse itself over a large surface, manifests but a small degree of the power that may be obtained from it by compelling it to discharge itself from a small point of focus. The same is true regarding the power of steam, which manifests great power by being forced to discharge itself through a small point or opening, instead of being permitted to spread itself widely in the air. The same law applies to gunpowder, which manifests force by its gases being compelled to escape through the small gun barrel instead of spreading in all directions, which it would do if unconfined. Another familiar example is that of the sun glass, or the burning glass, which brings the rays of the sun to a common point or focus, greatly intensifying the heat and light by reason thereof. The occult masters have ever impressed upon their pupils the importance and the necessity of acquiring the power of mental concentration, and all trained and developed occultists have practiced and persevered toward this end, the result being that some of them attained almost miraculous powers and influence. All occult phenomena is caused in this way. and all occult power depends upon it. Therefore, the student of mental influence should devote much thought, time, and practice to this most important branch of the subject. Excuse me. It's a known fact to all students of mental phenomena that very few persons possess then a very small degree of concentration. They allow their mental forces to become scattered and dissipated in all directions, and obtain little or no results from the same. In the degree that a man is able to concentrate, so is he able to manifest mental power. A man's power of mental concentration is to a great extent the measure of his greatness. Mental concentration, in practice, consists in focusing the mind upon a given subject or object firmly and fixedly, and then holding it there for a certain time, fully intent upon its object, and not allowing itself to be diverted or attracted from its object. It likewise consists in the correlative power of then detaching the mind from that subject or object, and either allowing it to rest or else focusing it upon another object. In other words, it either gives undivided attention or else inhibits or shuts off attention from given subject or object. To the reader who has had no experience along the lines of mental concentration, it may seem like a very easy task to focus the mind upon a subject and then hold it there firmly and fixedly. But a little practice will undeceive such a person and will bring him to a realizing sense of the difficulty of the task. The mind is very restless. It's a very restless thing, and its tendency is to dance from one thing to another, darting here and there, soon tiring of continued attention, and like a spoiled child, seeking a new object upon which to exercise itself. On the other hand, many people allow their minds to concentrate involuntarily upon whatever might strike the fancy, and forgetting everything else. They give themselves up to the object attracting their attention for the moment, often neglecting duties and important interests, and becoming daydreamers instead of firm thinkers. This involuntary concentration is a thing to be avoided, for it is the allowing of the attention to escape the control of the will. The mental concentration of the occultist is a very different thing, and is solely in control of the will, being applied when desirable and taking off or inhibited when desirable. The trained occultist will concentrate upon a subject or object with a wonderful intensity, seemingly completely absorbed in the subject or object before him and oblivious to all else in the world. And yet, the task accomplished, or the given time expired, he will detach his mind from the object and will be perfectly fresh, watchful, and wide awake to the next matter before him. There is every difference in being controlled by involuntary attention, which is a species of self-hypnotization, and the control of the attention, which is an evidence of mastery. The secret of mental concentration lies in control of the attention. And the control of attention lies in the exercise of the will. A celebrated French physiologist has well said, "The authority is subject to the superior authority of the ego." That's written here with a capital E, the true ego. I yield it or I withhold it as I please. I direct it to turn to several points. I concentrate it upon each point as long as my will can stand the effort. End of quote. And Sully, S-U-L-L-Y, says, attention may be roughly defined as the active self-direction of the mind to any object which presents itself at the moment. End of quote. All right, now. All of the occult authorities begin teaching their pupils attention as the first step toward mental concentration. They instruct the pupil to examine some familiar object and endeavor to see as many details as possible in the object. Then, after hearing the pupil's report, the master sends him back to the task, bidding him seek for new details, and so on, until at last the pupil has discovered about all concerning the object that can be discovered. The next day, a new object is given to him, and the process is repeated. Simple objects are given, and then more complex ones, until at last, objects of great complexity are easily mastered. Yet this way, not only is the power of close observation highly developed, but the faculty of attention becomes so highly strengthened that the pupil is able to exert the greatest amount of mental concentration with scarcely the consciousness of effort. And such a person then becomes a very giant in the manifestation of mental influence, for he is able to hold his mind one-pointed, as the Orientals describe it, until he is focused and directed a mighty degree of mental influence toward the desired object. Among the practices imposed by their pupils, by the occult masters, may be named mathematics, drawing, analysis, etc. You will readily see why this is. To begin with, mathematics requires the undivided attention of the student. Unless he concentrates upon his examples, he will not be able to work out their solution. And according to the principle in nature that practice makes perfect, and that exercise develops power, the practice of the mind along lines requiring voluntary attention and mental concentration will inevitably result in the acquirement of the mental control and power which renders possible the strongest manifestation of mental influence. The person who uses mental influence must certainly possess the power of focusing the force to a common point in order to manifest the great amount of power and influence. And that faculty of focusing results from the training of the mind along the lines of concentration. And concentration arises from the mastery of voluntary attention. So there you have the whole matter in a nutshell. So your first step toward acquiring mental influence should be to cultivate voluntary attention. Now, we might fill page after page with exercises designed to strengthen your faculty of voluntary attention. But what would be the use? The best plan is to set you to work to find something upon which to concentrate, for the very search will develop attention. Look around you for some object to study in detail. Then concentrate your attention upon it until you have seen all there is about it to be seen. Then take up another object and pursue the practice further. Take a page, this page, if you will, and count the number of words on it. Then see how many words are required to fill each line on the average. Then see how many letters there are in each word. in each line, the whole page. Then go over the page and see if any words are misspelled, or if any of the letters are imperfect, etc. In short, get acquainted with this page until you know all about it. Then take up another page, and after studying it the same way, compare the two. And so on. Of course, this will be very dry and tedious unless you take an interest in it. And the interest may be aroused by remembering just what the exercise is designed for. After practicing this way for a short time each day, you will find, well, you'll begin to find that you are able to bestow greater attention upon objects upon which you're trying to manifest mental influence. You're developing concentration. That is the great secret of the use of mental influence, and explains the differences in its manifestations among men. Think over this. Chapter 5 will be mental imaging, the first sentence of which, in our last chapter, we called your attention to the first of the two principal factors in the manifestation of mental influence, namely mental concentration. Followed by, in the present chapter now, we shall consider the second factor tending to render possible the said manifestation, namely mental imaging. But that is for the next video. Did you like this video? Please remember to give it a thumb up. If you have not yet subscribed to the channel, please, right after the conclusion of this video, go ahead and do that and activate the notification bell feature while you're at it. And if you comment, which you're welcome to do, please comment courteously. Share the joy of the channel with others. And thank you again for selecting this fourth chapter in William Walker Atkinson's Practical Mental Influence and Mental Fascination, Mental Concentration. See you in the next video.